Hello everyone, here is Afra Siab. Today we are going to solve Cambridge IGCSE Physics paper 2 multiple choice extended held on May-June 2021 and paper code is 0625 with variant 21. So let's start from question number 1. Question number 1. The diagram shows a stone of irregular shape. Which property of the stone can be found by lowering it into a measuring cylinder half filled with water? So first of all, we have a measuring cylinder. I suppose here that it's a measuring cylinder and it is filled with water. It is half filled with water. So when I lower this stone into this water, then what will happen? Which property of the stone can be found? So the volume change here, there will be no change in the length, mass or weight. So I circle the C option here, volume. Question number 2. Which row describes speed and velocity? Speed and velocity. Option A, scalar and scalar. B, scalar and vector. C, vector and scalar. D, vector and vector. So, speed is a scalar quantity while velocity is a vector quantity because speed has only magnitude while the velocity has both magnitude and direction. So here B option is correct, which shows that speed is a scalar quantity while velocity is a vector quantity. Question number 3. 4 balls with different masses are dropped from the heights shown. Air resistance may be ignored. Which ball has the smallest average speed? So here we have to show that which of the following ball has the smallest average speed. Here is ball A, whose mass is 4.0 kg and its height is 1.0 meter. The ball B has mass 3.0 kg and its height is 2.0 meter. Ball C has mass 2.0 kg and its height is 3.0 meter. While the ball D has mass 1.0 kg and its height is 4.0 meter. So first of all, we have to find out the average speed and tell which one of the ball has the smallest average speed. So first of all, I write here loss of potential energy is equal to gain in kinetic energy because as the ball moves from top to down, then its height decreases, mean that the potential energy decreases and kinetic energy increases. So I write here loss in potential energy is equal to gain in kinetic energy. So the potential energy is mgh while kinetic energy is half mv square. This m cancels by this. So v square is equal to 2gh and v is equal to square root of 2gh. We have used this formula and find out the average speed. For the ball A, I write here v is equal to square root 2 multiplied by value of g is 10 meter per second square and height is given which is 1.0. So that the value of speed for the ball A comes to be 4.47 meter per second. Now for the ball B, it will be 2 multiplied by 10 multiplied by height which is given 2.0. So the value of speed comes to be 6.32 meter per second. For ball C, V will be equal to square root 2 multiplied by 10 and 3.0. So the value of average speed will be equal to 7.74 meter per second. For the ball D, V will be equal to 2 multiplied by 10 multiplied by 4.0. So the speed comes to be 8.94 meter per second. Now we see all of these value of the average speed and tell that which speed is smallest. So the ball A, we can see here its speed is 4.47 meter per second. It is the smallest as compared to ball B, C and D. So I tick here option A. Option A is correct. Question number 4. An object of mass 2.0 kg is taken from the earth where the gravitational field strength is 10 Newton per kilogram to the moon where the gravitational field strength is 1.6 Newton per kilogram. Which row is correct? Weight on the earth and weight on the moon. So here we are given the mass of the object and it is taken on the surface of the earth and on the surface of moon. We have to find out the value of the weight on earth and on moon. So first of all, I use the formula here that weight is equal to product of mass and gravitational field strength. So weight is equal to mass multiplied by g. I write this formula for earth. First of all, I find out the value of the weight on earth. It will be equal to mass multiplied by the value of g on earth. So the value of g on the earth is 10 Newton per kilogram. I write here mass is equal to 2.0 multiplied by g is equal to 10. So that the value of the weight comes to be 20 Newton. Next, we also have to find out the value of weight on the moon. So I write here weight on moon will be equal to mass multiplied by value of g on moon. It will be equal to 2.0 multiplied by 1.6. It is 3.2 Newton. So the weight on the surface of moon is 3.2 Newton, while on the earth it is 20 Newton. We see from here that which option is correct. So first of all, option A 0.20 and 0.80. So it is incorrect. B 0.20 and 3.2. It is also incorrect. C 20 and 0.80. It is also incorrect. And option D, the weight on the earth is 20 while the weight on the moon is 3.2 Newton. So option D is correct. Question number 5. The mass of an empty flask is 34 gram. The volume of the liquid added to the flask is 20 cubic centimeter. The total mass of the flask and liquid is 50 gram. What is the density of the liquid? So here we have to find out the density of liquid. For that we have to know about the mass and the volume of the liquid. It is given that the volume of the liquid is 20 centimeter cube. While the mass of liquid is not given, we have to find this value of the mass from the given data. So first of all, I write here density is equal to mass over volume. Volume is given 20 cubic centimeter. Next, it is given that the total mass of flask and liquid is 50 gram. It means that total mass will be the sum of mass of flask plus mass of liquid. So here we have to find out the mass of liquid. It will be equal to total mass, which is 50 gram, minus the mass of flask, which is 34. So it will be equal to 16 gram. The mass of liquid comes to be 16 gram. Next, I am going to put the values in the formula of density. It will be equal to mass 16 gram divided by volume 20 cubic centimeter. So that the value of density comes to be 0.80 and the unit will be same. The mass is measured in gram divided by volume in cubic centimeter. So it will be gram per cubic centimeter. And it is first option A. It is first option A, which shows that density of liquid is equal to 0.80 gram per cubic centimeter. Question number 6. The extension load graph for a spring is shown. The unstretched length of the spring is 17.0 centimeter. So it is given that the original length is 17.0 centimeter and here is the graph which shows the extension and load. When an object is suspended from the spring, the length of spring is 19.2 centimeter. So this is the stretched length. What is the weight of the object? So here we have to find out the weight of object. For that, first of all, I find out the slope of this graph. I consider any 2 points. I suppose that first point is here and second point is here. Then I have to find out the slope. Using a ruler, I join these points with x-axis and y-axis. So slope will be equal to, this point is 2.9 and here it is 1.5. 2.9 minus 1.5 divided by x2 minus x1, 4 minus 2. So slope will be equal to 0.7. The unit will be centimeter over Newton. Next, according to Hooke's law, F is equal to kx and k is equal to f over x. From the slope, we can see that we have find the value of x over f. So in order to find out the value of k, I write it will be equal to 1 over slope. So 1 over 0.7. The value of k will be equal to 1.428. The unit will be Newton per centimeter. So this is a value of the spring constant. Next, we have to find out the extension that take place. First of all, unstretched length is given, which is 17.0 centimeter, and when an object is suspended, then length increases and it becomes 19.2 centimeter. So that extension will be equal to extended length, that is 19.2, minus original length, which is 17.0. So extension will be equal to 2.2 centimeter. So we have find the value of extension x and also the value of spring constant. Now by using the Hooke's law, I write here F is equal to kx. So F will be equal to, value of k is 1.428 multiplied by x is 2.2. So it will be equal to 3.0 Newton. The force here actually equal to weight. So the value of weight of the object will be equal to 3.0 Newton. I take D option. Next question number 7. A cart has a mass of 10 kilogram. So here the mass of cart is given, which is 10 kilogram. A Y pushes on the cart horizontally with a force of 50 Newton. The cart accelerates at 0.50 meter per second square. What is frictional force acting on the cart? So first of all, I suppose that here is a cart. And the Y push on the cart horizontally and force is 50 Newton. We have to find out the frictional force. So frictional force will be acting in opposite direction. I represent it with small f. We have to find out the magnitude of the frictional force. So I write here net force will be equal to force which is given that the Y exert on the cart minus frictional force. Minus sign is because of the opposite direction of both of these forces. So it will be 50 minus F while the net force is equal to MA. So the frictional force will be equal to 50 minus MA. It will be 50 minus mass is given 10 multiplied by acceleration is 0.50. So that the value of frictional force comes to be 45 Newton. So here D option is correct. Question number 8. A ball has a mass of 2.0 kilogram. The ball approaches a wall at a speed of 3.0 meter per second and rebounds at a speed of 1.0 meter per second. What is the impulse on the wall? So here we have to find out the value of impulse. First of all, here is a ball and it approaches wall at a speed of 3.0 meter per second. Then it rebounds back at the speed of 1.0 meter per second. We can see here that the direction of approach and rebounds is different. And the impulse is represented by I and it is the product of mass and change in speed. We can simply say that impulse is the change of momentum delta P. So I write here M V2 minus V1. Mass is given 2.0 multiplied by V2 is 1.0 minus V1 is 3.0 meter per second. But due to the change of direction, there will be minus 3.0. So I write here 2.0 multiplied by 1.0 plus 3.0. It will be equal to 2.0 and 4.0, 8.0. The unit of impulse is Newton second. So impulse is equal to 8.0 Newton second, which is D option. So D option is correct here. Next part, question number 9. Which situation involve no work being done and no energy being transferred? A. A car skidding to a stop on the road. So there is a large amount of energy transfer. B. A crane lifted a load. So they required a large amount of energy to lift a load. C. A heavy load hanging from a strong bar. D. A student dragging a big box over a rough floor. So in order to drag a big box, we required work. It required work. Option D. A student dragging a big box over a rough floor. So in order to drag a big box, there required energy. So there will be the transfer of energy. Only C option is correct here. Question number 10. A student suggests that there are several ways of transferring energy to a small stationary block of iron on a smooth table. He makes the following suggestions. 1. Heat it. 2. Shine light on it. And 3. Pass a current through it. Which suggestions are correct? So here we have to explain that which suggestions are correct. First of all, here we have transfer of energy. When we heat object, there will be the transfer of energy. So option A, that is heat it. It is correct. Second, shine light on it. When we shine light on the surface, then the energy will be transferred. And 3, pass the current through it. When we pass the current through the object, then there will be the energy transfer. So all of these are correct. Here is option D, in which all of these suggestions are correct. Question number 11. An engine produces 240 kilojoule of energy in 2.0 minutes. What is the power output of the engine? So here we have to find out the power output of the engine, and power is rate of energy transfer, energy over time. Here energy is given 240 kilojoule. It is basically equal to 240 multiplied by 10 की power 3 joule. So I write here energy is equal to 240 multiplied by 10 की power 3 divided by time. Time is given 2.0 minutes and we have to convert into seconds. So I write here 2.0 multiplied by 60. So the value of power, which is the output power, it will be equal to 2000 watt. It is also 2.0 kilowatt. So here option A is correct. Question number 12. A book has a mass of 400 gram. The surface of the book in contact with the table has dimension of 0.10 meter cross 0.20 meter. The gravitational field strength G is 10 Newton per kilogram. What is the pressure exerted on the table due to the book? So here we have to find out the value of pressure. Pressure is defined as force per unit area. I write here P is equal to F over A. Here we are given the value of G and mass. So I write here F is equal to mg divided by area, where mass is given in gram and we have to convert this mass into kilogram. So I write here mass is equal to 400 divided by 1000 kilogram. It will be equal to 0.4 kilogram. So I write here mass is equal to 0.4 multiplied by the value of G is 10 divided by area. So the dimension of the book is given, which is equal to area. So it will be 0.10 multiplied by 0.20. So the value of pressure will be equal to 4 over 0.02, which will be 200. The unit of pressure is Pascal or Newton per meter square. So pressure will be equal to 200 Newton per meter square, which is option D. So here D is correct. Question number 13. The diagram shows a mercury barometer at which point is the pressure greater than the atmospheric pressure. So here 4 points are shown, point A, B, C and D. We have to mention the point where the pressure is greater than the atmospheric pressure. From this figure we can see that point D is at the bottom while the point A is at the up. Atmospheric pressure is basically due to the atmosphere. So at the point D, pressure will be greater than atmospheric pressure because here total pressure is equal to the sum of pressure due to the liquid plus atmospheric pressure. So, here D option is correct. At point D, pressure is larger as compared to atmospheric pressure. Question number 14. The table gives information about the molecules which row describe a gas. Force between molecules, distance between molecules. So first of all, the forces between the molecules of gas are very small and the distance between the molecules of gas are very large because the gas molecules are very further apart from each other. So the option A, force is strong and distance is close together. So it is incorrect because the molecules are further apart. MCQs B, strong and far apart. The forces are not strong. That's why B is also incorrect. C, negligible forces and far apart. So this is correct. So the correct answer here is C. Next, question number 15. Very small pollen grains are suspended in water. A bright light shines from the side. When looked at through a microscope, small specks of the light are seen to be moving in a random, jerky manner. So here is a figure. We can see that microscope is placed and there is also the eye which is used to observe the motion of these pollen grain. So first of all, we have water in a beaker and there is also the pollen grains placed in the water. When the bright light falls on these pollen grain, what happens? What are the moving specks of light? A, pollen grains being hit by the other pollen grains. B, pollen grains being hit by the water molecules. C, water molecules being hit by other water molecules. D, water molecules being hit by the pollen grain. So here B option is correct, which is pollen grain being hit by the water molecules. Question number 16. Why are small gaps left between the metal rails on a railway track? So it is because of the reason that on a hot day there will be expansion of the rails. So option A, to allow for expansion of the rails on a hot day. B, to allow for contraction of the rails on the hot day. As we know that when we heat anything, there will be expansion. So on the hot day, there will be the expansion of the rails. So we keep the gap between the metal rails of the railway track. So here option A is correct. Option C, to allow for expansion of the rail on a cool day. It is not correct because on the cool day there will be no expansion. D, to allow for contraction of the rails on a cold day. So on a cold day when there is contraction, then there will no need more space. So that's why this option is also incorrect. Only option A is correct. Question number 17. A block of metal absorbs 2000 joule of thermal energy. The temperature of the block rises from 10 degrees C to 20 degrees C. The mass of the block is 2.0 kilogram. What is the specific heat capacity of the metal? So here we have to find out the specific heat capacity of the metal. So I write here energy is equal to mc delta T, where C is the specific heat capacity. So C will be equal to E over m delta T. Delta T is change in temperature. So energy is given 2000 divided by mass is 2.0 multiplied by change in temperature. First of all, temperature is 10 degrees C and it changes and becomes 20 degrees C. So change in temperature will be 20 minus 10 degrees C. It will be equal to 2000 over 2.0 multiplied by 10. So the value of C will be equal to 100 joule per kilogram and degree C. So here B option is correct. Question number 18. Which statement about boiling and evaporation is correct? So here we have to tell that which statement is correct. A. Boiling requires a supply of thermal energy, but evaporation does not. So it is incorrect. B. Evaporation takes place at the surface of the liquid, but boiling takes place throughout the liquid. So this is correct because the evaporation only takes place at the surface while the boiling takes place throughout the liquid. C. When water boils in a kettle, its temperature decreases. So when we boil the water, its temperature increases, not decreases. So it is also incorrect. D. When water evaporates, its temperature increases. It is also incorrect. Question number 19. A metal rod is heated at end X. Here is a metal rod and we are heating at the end X. Why does end Y of the metal rod become hot? A. Energy is transferred from end X of the rod to end Y by vibration of the positive ion and by movement of the electron. B. Energy is transferred from end X of the rod to the end Y by movement of the positive ions only. C. Energy is transferred from end X of the rod to the end Y by vibration of the positive ions only. D. Energy is being transferred from end X of the rod to the end Y by the movement of electrons only. So first of all, here B is correct because we know that in a metal there are free electrons. So there will be no movement of positive ions only. C option is also incorrect because there is also the movement of electrons. D option is incorrect because there is also the vibrations of positive ion. So only A option is correct, that the energy is transferred from X to Y due to the movement of electrons and also by the vibration of positive ions. Because if I consider that it's a metal and there are electrons inside this. These electrons are not fixed. These are free electrons. They move randomly. So when I consider this electron, it moves in this direction. So at this place, there will be the positively charged metal ion. Due to which the energy transferred in a metal by the vibration of positive ions as well as by the movement of electrons. So here A option is correct. Question number 20. Two square sheets of metal P and Q are heated to the same temperature. So we have two sheets. Both of these are at the same temperature. The metal sheets are shown. Here are two metal sheets. First one is P and the second is Q. Sheet Q is emitting more radiation than sheet P. Which statement explains this? A. Dull black surfaces are better conductors of radiation. B. Dull black surfaces are better emitter of radiation. C. The surface area of Q is larger than the P. D. White surfaces are better absorber of the radiation. So first of all, it is given that both of these are the same temperature. So only the thing that is used to differentiate between P and Q is the length of the side, which is 20 cm for the P and 40 cm for the Q. It means that the surface area for the cube is larger as compared to the surface area of P. So here C is correct. Question number 21. As water waves passing into a region where the wave travel more slowly. As it passes into the slow region, what happens to the frequency and what happens to the wavelength of the wave? So first of all here, the water wave passes through the region where the waves move slowly. According to the wave relation V is equal to F lambda, there will be no change in the frequency when the water wave moves from one region into another. Frequency remains same. It means that V is directly proportional to wavelength lambda. When the water waves enter into the region where the wave travels more slowly, it means that its speed decreases. When the speed decreases, then the wavelength also decreases. So when the water wave passes into the region where the wave travels more slowly, the frequency remains same while the wavelength decreases. So in the table, first of all here is frequency and secondly there is wavelength. Frequency decrease, so it is not possible. Option B, frequency increase, it is also incorrect. C, remains the same. Frequency remains the same and wavelength decreases. So this option is correct. Option C. Question number 22. Light traveling at a speed of 3.0 into 10 to the power 8 meter per second strikes the surface of the glass block and undergoes the refraction as it enters the block. Diagram shows a ray of this light before and after it enters the block. Here is a figure and we can see that this is the ray of light. It incident on the glass block and then there will be refraction. What is the speed of light in the glass? So here we have to find out the speed of light in this glass. For that, first of all, I write here n1 sin theta 1 is equal to n2 sin theta 2, where n1, this is for air and this is for glass. The refractive index of the air is 1, while theta 1 is the angle of incidence, which is given here 55. So sine of 55 degree will be equal to, we have to find out the value of n2 and sine of angle of refraction, which is 33 degree. So I write here 33. N2 will be equal to sine 55 degrees divided by sine 33 degree. So the value of n will be equal to 1.5. This is the refractive index for the glass. Next we have to find out the speed of light in the glass. So I write here refractive index is the ratio of C over V, where C is the speed of light in air while V is the speed of light in glass. So V will be equal to C over N. C is given, which is 3.0 into 10 to the power 8 meter per second. So I write here 3.0 into 10 to the power 8 divided by 1.5. It will be equal to 2.0 multiplied by 10 to the power 8 meter per second. So the value of the speed of light in the glass will be equal to 2.0 into 10 to the power 8 meter per second. From here, option B is correct, which is 2.0 into 10 to the power 8 meter per second. Question number 23. The diagram shows a narrow beam of light incident on a glass air boundary Some of the light emerges along the surface of the glass and some is reflected back into the glass. Here is a figure and we can see that there is a light that falls at this point. Some of light is reflected while some part of this light is refracted. It means that it emerges along the surface of the glass, which is shown by this ray. Which row is correct? This is the example of total internal reflection. Angle theta is the critical angle. So, we can see from here that either this angle is the critical angle or not. So, critical angle is actually the angle of incidence for which the angle of refraction is equal to 90 degree. We can see from here this angle is the angle of incidence and it hits the boundary at this point and then it becomes parallel to the boundary such that there is an angle of 90 degree. So this angle is basically the critical angle. So it is a critical angle. It is correct. Yes. We also have to check that either there is the process of total internal reflection or not. We can see from here that the incident light hits the surface at the critical angle. The total internal reflection occurs only when the angle of incidence is larger than critical angle. Here angle of incidence is actually equal to critical angle, so there will be no total internal reflection. So here there will be no total internal reflection and critical angle theta. So A option is correct. Question number 24. An object is placed in front of thin converging lens. The diagram shows the paths of the two rays from the top of the object. Here is a figure and we can see that there is the converging lens. An object is placed here and two rays are shown that is coming from the top of the object. An image of the object is formed on a screen to the right of the lens. How does this image compare with the object? A. It is larger and inverted. B. It is larger and the same way up. C. It is smaller and inverted. D. It is smaller and same way up. So going back to figure, we can first of all extend these rays and find out the location of the image and then we compare the size of the object and the size of image. First of all, I am going to use the ruler. And then extend this ray. So the point where both of these rays meet is the location of the image. I am going to label this. So this is image. Now we compare the size of image with the size of object and see that whether the size of image is smaller or larger as compared to the size of object. So we can see from here clearly that this is the object this distance or height is actually the size of the object, while the height from this point to this is basically the size of the image, and we can see that the size of image is larger as compared to size of object. Next one is that this image is inverted because the object is in upward direction while the image is in downward direction. So that's why option A is correct, which shows that image is larger and inverted. Question number 25. A remote controlled vehicle is traveling on the surface of a planet. The vehicle senses an obstacle ahead. It sends a radio message to the control room from where it is being controlled. The control room is 2.4 into 10 to the power 6 kilometers away from the vehicle. The control room sends a message back to the vehicle telling it to stop. What is the minimum time that elapses between the vehicle sensing the obstacle and receiving the message back from the control room? So here basically we have to find out the minimum value of the time. We can see here first of all when the vehicle senses the obstacle, then it sends the radio message and then receive. It means that there will be the double distance. We can simply say that there will be the process of echo. So when there is the phenomena of echo, I write that speed is equal to 2d over t. From here we have to find out the value of time. It will be equal to 2d over v. Distance is given, which is 2.4 into 10 to the power 6 kilometer. And we have to convert this distance into meter. So I write 2.4 into 10 to the power 6 multiplied by 10 to the power 3 meter. So I write here 2.4 into 10 to the power 9, because 6 plus 3 is equal to 9, divided by v. So there is actually the radio waves that it sends a radio message in the form of waves, and all of these waves travel with the speed of light. So I write here 3.0 into 10 to the power 8 meter per second. The value of time will be equal to 16 seconds. So here D option is correct. Question number 26. A sound wave is traveling outwards from a loudspeaker into the surrounding air. Here are three statements. 1. The air pressure is lower at the rarefaction compared with the undisturbed air. So, rarefaction is the region where the particles are far apart from each other, and at that region the pressure is smaller. So this statement is correct. Second, the density of the air is less at the compression compared with undisturbed air. So compression is the region where the particles are closer to each other. So at the compressions the density is larger. So this is incorrect. Third, the distance from a compression to a rarefaction equal to half a wavelength. So the distance between two consecutive compressions or rarefaction is basically equal to wavelength. When I draw here diagram, so compression are the regions where molecules are closer, while on rarefaction the molecules are apart from each other. By seeing this figure, we can see that this is compression, while here is rarefaction. Again there is compression and it is rarefaction. It means that the distance between 2 consecutive compression is equal to wavelength. I use the ruler here. If this distance is equal to wavelength, lambda, then the distance between compression and rarefaction will be half of the wavelength. It means that distance from here to this point is basically half of the wavelength. Which statements about the sound wave are incorrect? Which statements about the sound waves are correct? A. 1 and 2 only. B. 1 and 3 only. So here first is also correct and third is also correct. So 1 and 3 only, which is option B. Next question number 27. The sound from a loudspeaker must pass through the two materials to reach a microphone. Here is the figure. We can see that there is a loudspeaker and two materials, material 1 and 2, and there is also the microphone. Which combination of the materials gives the shortest time for the sound to reach the microphone? Material 1 and 2. Here are different materials. MCQs: A. Air and hydrogen. B. Air and water. C. Copper and aluminium. D. Water and oil. So first of all, we know that the speed of sound is highest in the solid, then in liquid, and then smallest in the gases. I write here, speed of sound is largest in solid, then here is liquid, and then gases. So the sound from the loudspeaker travel very fast through the solid and it takes shortest time to reach on the microphone. So here copper and aluminium is correct. Question number 28. Diagram 1 shows a small compass needle with its poles. Question number 28. Diagram 1 shows a small compass needle with its poles marked. It is not near any magnetic materials. Diagram 2 shows a bar magnet with its pole marked. The compass needle is placed at point P. Here is the diagram 1 which just shows the compass needle. And in diagram 2 we have placed a magnet very close to the point P. In which direction will the north pole of the compass needle point? A. To the left, B. To the right, C. Down the page, and D. Up the page. Going back to figure, we can see here in diagram 2, there is a magnetic material which is magnet. So, first of all, the magnetic lines of force emerges from the north and enters into the south. I am going to draw here like that. These are emerges from the north and enters in the south. So this is a complete magnetic lines and this direction will be like this. Next, when I place the compass needle at the point P, like that, first of all north is upward while the south is downward. When this compass needle is placed near the bar magnet, and we know that the magnetic field inside this compass will be from south to north. It means that south shift here and north shift here. I write here south and north. We can see from here that the direction of the magnetic field inside this compass needle is from south to north, while outside the bar magnet the direction of magnetic field lines is from north to south. It means that the north point will be on the right side. So, in which direction will the north pole of the compass needle point? It will be to the right. So, B option is correct here. Question number 29. A student rubs a plastic rod with a cloth. The rod becomes positively charged. What has happened to the rod? As the student rubs the plastic rod with cloth and the rod gets positive charge, it means that it has lost electron. If I suppose that I have element A, then when it loses electron, it becomes positive charge. It means that if the rod becomes positive charge, it has lost electron. So, options are A, it has gained electrons, B, it has gained protons, C, it has lost electrons, and D, it has lost proton. So, here C is correct because it has lost electrons. Question number 30. An isolated metal sphere is positively charged. It is then brought near to another isolated metal sphere that is neutral. First of all, here is positively charged metal sphere, and second, here is neutral metal sphere. What happens to the charges on the neutral sphere as the positively charged sphere is brought close to it? MCQs A. Some positive charges move to the left and some negative charges move to the right. B. Some positive charges moves to the right and some negative charges moves to the left. C. Some positive charges moves to the right and some negative charges do not move. D. The positive charges do not move, but some negative charges move to the left. So first of all, we can see from this diagram that when the positively charged metal plate is brought near the neutral metal sphere, then what will happen? Here will be negative charge. Because opposite charges attract each other, it means that some of the negative charges move towards the left, due to which there will be the positive charges on the other side. But these positive charges do not move. So, here option D is correct. That positive charges do not move, but some negative charges moves towards the left. Question number 31. Which statement about the resistance of the metal wire is correct? A. The resistance is directly proportional to length and directly proportional to cross-section area. So in this option, resistance is directly proportional to length and also directly proportional to cross-section area. MCQs B. The resistance is directly proportional to its length and inversely proportional to cross-section area. C. The resistance is inversely proportional to length and directly proportional to cross-section area. Option D. The resistance is inversely proportional to length and inversely proportional to cross-section area. So here basically is the relation of the resistance between length and cross-section area. We know that resistance is directly proportional to length and it is inversely proportional to cross-section area. So from here, B option is correct. That the resistance is directly proportional to length and inversely proportional to cross-section area. Question number 32. The circuit diagram shows a light-dependent resistor LDR in a potential divider. A voltmeter is connected across the LDR. Here is a circuit and we can see that there is LDR and the voltmeter is connected across it. Which row shows the resistance of LDR and the potential difference shown on the voltmeter at a specific light level? Here is table. We can see that first of all there is light level, resistance of LDR, potential difference shown by the voltmeter. Bright. When the light falls on the LDR, then the amount of current will be larger. It means that more current passing through the LDR. As a result, the resistance decrease. When the resistance decrease, potential difference also decrease. It means that in the bright light, resistance is smaller and also the potential difference is smaller, which is shown by the voltmeter. So first option, when the bright light, the resistance is low but the potential difference is high. So it is incorrect. Second option, in the bright light, the resistance is high. It is also incorrect. Next is about dim light. So when the light is dim, it means that less current is passing through the LDR. Here the amount of current decrease, due to which the resistance increase and also the potential difference increase. So in the dim light, the resistance is high and also the potential difference is high. It means that C option is correct. Question number 33. This MCQ is actually related with the logic gates. So we have 3 NAND gates are connected in a single chip as shown. Here are 2 inputs A and B and a single output. The whole chip behaves as a single logic gate. Which type of logic gate does the chip act as? MCQs A, AND gate, NAND gate, NOR gate, OR gate. So first of all, we can check that which gate is here by putting the input value. If I suppose that inputs are 1 and 0, then what will happen? If the input 1 is 1 and input 2 is 0, then there will be 1 and here will be 0 and 0. This gate is actually NAND gate. This is also NAND gate. NAND gate is obtained when we apply NOT gate over the AND gate. It means that 1 and 1, when we apply NAND gate, it changes into 0 and 0 and 0, it changes into 1 by the application of NAND gate. This 0 and 1 are again the inputs of third NAND gate. So it gives the output 1. So when we have input 1 and 0, the output is 1. Secondly, we check another input which is 1 and 1. Then what will happen? If I suppose that here input is 1 and input is also 1. So here is 1 and 1. Again 1 and 1. Here 1 and 1, the output will be 0 and here output will be 0. This 0, 0 becomes the input of the last NAND gate and this 0, 0 gives also 1. It means that when inputs are 1, 1, the output is also 1. So this is actually the OR gate, in which when any one of the input is high, the output will be high. So this is for OR gate. I tick here option D. Question number 34. A solenoid is connected to a very sensitive emitter. A rod is inserted into one end of the solenoid. The emitter shows that there is a small electric current in the solenoid while the rod is moving. Which rod being inserted here? A. A heated copper rod. B. Magnetized steel rod. C. Uncharged nylon rod. And D. A radioactive uranium rod. So first of all, actually there is a small current which is due to the magnetization. When I place rod very close to the solenoid and move the rod towards the solenoid, then what will happen? There will be the change of flux, due to which the induced EMF will be in the solenoid and there will be the small current. It means that rod should be magnetized. So here the option D is correct, which is magnetized steel rod. Question number 35. The diagram shows an electric generator with the coil in vertical position. Here is a diagram which shows the electric generator and coil is placed in vertical position. In this generator there is also slip rings, brushes and oscilloscope. There is also the magnetic field which is provided by the north and south pole of the magnet. Which row describes the generator? The generator produces AC or DC and the voltage output will be 0 when. So first of all, this electric generator actually produces AC. So from here AC is correct and the voltage output will be 0 when the coil is horizontal, the coil is vertical. So when the coil is vertical, then the output voltage will be 0. From here, second is correct and there is also the AC, means that option B is correct. That the generator produces AC and the voltage output will be 0 when the coil is vertical. Question number 36. The diagram shows a transformer. There are 460 turns on the primary coil and 24 turns on the secondary coil. The primary voltage is 230 volt. What is the secondary voltage? So here we have to find out the value of secondary voltage. So I use here Ns over Np is equal to Vs over Vp. That the ratio of number of turns will be equal to the ratio of the voltage. From here we have to find out the value of Vs. It will be equal to Ns over Np multiplied by Vp. It will be 24 divided by 460 multiplied by 230. So that the value of Vs comes to be 12 volt. It means that B option is correct. Question number 37. The charge on the proton is E. What is the charge on the electron and what is the charge on the neutron? As you know that neutron is neutral, it has no charge. So the charge on the neutron will be 0 while the electron has negative charge as that of the proton. So if the charge on the proton is E, then the charge on electron will be minus E. So here is the table which shows electrons and neutron. So option A, E and E, it is incorrect. B, E and 0, it is also incorrect. C, minus E, it is also incorrect. And D, minus E and 0. So this option is correct. Question number 38. 4 students are asked to comment on the processes of nuclear fission and nuclear fusion. Their comments are recorded in the table. Which row is correct? Here is fission and fusion. A, energy is absorbed. So no energy is absorbed in the fission. So it is incorrect. B, a large unstable nucleus split. It is correct and energy is absorbed. So it is also incorrect. C, 2 light nuclei join it is incorrect because the two light nuclei join in the fusion. D, energy is released, so it is correct, and two light nuclei join. It means that D option is correct. Question number 39. Radon Rn, atomic number 86 and mass number 219, decays by emitting an alpha particle. Which nuclide is formed in this decay? So first of all, there is the emission of alpha particles, and alpha particles are actually helium nuclei. So I write here radon 219 and 86. When it emits alpha particle, there will be another element. So which element is here? I suppose that it is X, and I check the atomic number and atomic mass on both sides of this arrow. So first of all, atomic number on the left hand side is 86. On the right hand side it is 2 plus. If I suppose that here is A and B, so it is A. It means that A is equal to 86 minus 2, 84. So I write here 84. Next I am going to compare the mass number. On the left hand side it is 219 and here it is 4 plus B. So that the value of B will be equal to 219 minus 4, which is 215. So I write here B is equal to 215. So the nuclide has atomic number 84 while the mass number 215, which here is given for PO. In the option A, it means that A is correct. In the B, here is RA with atomic number 88, so it is incorrect. In the C, here is FR with atomic number 87, which is also incorrect. D, again atomic number is 85, which is incorrect. Question number 40. The graph shows the activity of the radioactive sources over a period of time. Here is a graph and time is measured in minutes while the activity is measured in counts per second. What is the half-life of the source? A 1.0 minute, B 2.0 minutes, C 2.5 minutes and D 4.0 minutes. So first of all, half-life is a time during which half of the amount decays. It means if I suppose that original count rate is 120, then when first half-life pass, then this count rate becomes half. It will be 120 over 2, which is 60. So first of all, I see here 60 is at this point and the time on the time axis passes 2.0. It means that the half-life is 2.0 minutes because in the 2 minutes the count rate reduces to half. So here will be second option B. So B is correct here.